Welcome to the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. Now, this week we begin with the National Assembly's probe of the alleged irregularities in the Niger Delta Development Commission. The managing director of the NDDC made two appearances, one before the Joint Committee of the National Assembly and the second quite briefly before the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC. He walked out on the committee after refusing to sit through a hearing headed by Representative Olubunmi Ojo, whom the commission had accused of hijacking projects in its budgets. And most interesting is the decision of the committee to summon the Minister of the Niger Delta following allegations against him by the former MD of the NDDC, Joy Nunye, and other participants at the hearing. The meeting had almost every member of the Senate and House of Representatives Joint Committee on Niger Delta in attendance, something not common in the National Assembly. The committee is to thoroughly scrutinize the budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission, a government agency which has dominated the news in the past week over allegations and counter-allegations of financial recklessness involving the Commission, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, and even the National Assembly. The managing director of the NDDC began his presentation of the agency's 2019 budget by highlighting that the commission received the sum of 305.5 billion naira as revenue in 2019.
346 billion, 389,400,900 naira, and the actual expenditure came to 122 billion. 354,915,315 naira 29 kobo.
But the chairman, House of Representatives Committee on NDDC, faulted the report presented by the NDDC MD.
On your Appendix 1, if we adopt the figure of Appendix 1, it means that there is what you have as a balance buffer is 41 billion. So it means that on your two figures, you have a difference of 142 billion. That is a major issue.
A back and forth ensued between committee members and Mr. Ponde over validity of the report.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that, I stand by what is in the appendix, sir.
This, your presentation cannot stand in any parliament in the world.
There are two issues. If you are not prepared to sign it, we will take it that you have not given us a budget performance, which is the basis for consideration of your 2020 budget. Distinguished colleagues, as the chairman of this committee, after the consultation with my co-chairman, I hereby declare this budget difference closed.
Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the House of Representatives will not be distracted in its investigations of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. According to the Speaker, who was speaking during the opening ceremony of the investigative hearing being organized by the House Committee on NDDC, the House will not allow anyone tarnish its image.
A lot has been said, sometimes inadvertently, sometimes intentionally, to take away from the character of this committee and its chairman and leadership, to impugn on its integrity, and by extension impugn on the integrity of the House. It is important that I make this abundantly clear, that the work and the committee has a job to do. And irrespective of any mudslinging from any quarters, this committee, with the authority of the House and the backing of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, will do what it needs to do to unravel and to reshape the Committee on NDDC moving forward.
The second day of the investigative hearing on the alleged malfeasance and other activities in the Niger Delta Development Commission was a struggle to observe the COVID-19 protocol of physical distancing. That is because the management of the Niger Delta Development Commission, led by the acting managing director, honored the invitation of the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC.
All of us know we're in the serious business here.
And it did not take long before things got out of hand.
We are not comfortable with the chairman of this committee presiding over a matter in which he is an accused party. He's an interested party, and we do not believe that the NDDC can have justice because he cannot sit in his own case.
Point of order,
And
Chairman.
as long as he is the chairman of this committee, the NDDC will not make any presentations here. There is no point of order here, please. I'm just stating our stand here before we start.
The acting managing director of NDDC has acted in defiance of the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act, which provides that no person should fail to answer to questions put to him in the proceedings of the Legislative House.
Quoting these laws did not faze Mr. Ponde as he and his team staged a walkout.
Was not granted by chairman. Chairman, let it be on record. The acting managing director of NDDC came in and decided to walk out on this committee as his permission was not granted.
On the basis of Section 89 of this Constitution, Mr. Chairman, may I move that we invoke our powers for warrant of arrest to compel the agency to come and answer to Nigerians how they have administered the money that was appropriated to them.
If you support, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
The hearing, however, continued with submissions from other stakeholders.
We told Nigerians that the NDDC has packed into an uncompleted building a 16-floor headquarters. How can you claim? How can any sane mind believe you when you say it has reached 95% completion? This is the claim by the Minister for the Niger Delta and the unofficial spokesperson of the NDDC, who has hijacked the role of the Director of Corporate Communications of the NDDC, Dr. Cairo Ojubo, a medical doctor who ordinarily, by the Establishment Act 2000 of the NDDC, has no right to serve as acting executive director of projects. If this country were to be a nation of laws, how can a medical doctor be asked to do an engineering job?
The former MD of the NDDC, Joy Nunye, was also supposed to make a presentation at the hearing, but was held up by security agencies at her home in Port Harcourt. Her representative in the House called for the intervention of the president.
And she's not before any court for any wrongdoing. Neither is she before any anti-graft agency. And so it beats us to get to know that in these modern times, this 21st century, that we're still living in this kind of a brutish environment. And I just want to use the opportunity to call on Mr. President to intervene, because I think the little we have left of our integrity as a country is becoming completely eroded when free citizens can no longer move around. She didn't commit any crime to have been so appointed. And if they say they want to do any form of forensic audit in NDDC, I don't think this is the best way to start. They know where to start from. Because in the first place, there's no attempt whatsoever to do any audit of NDDC. That's the very gospel truth. NDDC is just an agency or a commission that is just there to run down funds belonging to the Niger Delta.
Thank you.
The following day, Ms. Joy Nunye made a virtual presentation before the committee, where she made series of allegations against the Minister of the Niger Delta.
Road Peter on Street 5, 2 kilometers. There will be 15 companies that have been awarded that same contract. Senator Akpabio says, go and get a contract. Get a contract, 5 billion. I say, sir, I cannot do that contract, because he wanted me to award a contract for what is in the store. How can I award contract for what we have in store? I want to say here, and I'm ready to stand and tell all Nigerians, if they find out that the forensic audit is going on, every testimony and allegation that I have made should be cancelled or disregarded. There is no forensic audit going on. Why? They got a certificate of no objection for the procurement of the forensic auditors. I challenge Senator Akpabio because he has sold a dummy to Nigerians. I challenge him to bring one of these Imanko, Okon and Co, to come and say that they are indeed carrying out a forensic. And this is the greatest scam in this country. No contractor can sit anywhere and say they gave me 10 naira I want to say this also under oath. The contractors, most of them, 60 personally known to me, personally. And I can say before the world that I am the most unpopular MD ever that came to NDDC.
She also expressed fears for her safety.
The police that were my police ordinance, they were sent to my office by Akpabio's former ADC when he was governor of Akwa Ibom State. I didn't know that. So if I went to Peter's house, if it's a perceived enemy of Senator Akpabio, he will be told that I am right now in Peter's house. I give you an example. I went to see Mrs. Silva, who has been my longtime friend for over 20 years. Senator Akpabio says, yes, you went to see Mrs. Silva. Do you know the husband said this are fake and that? You must not go there again. I was at the airport. They told me, one Dakuku's driver told me that, madam, Mrs. Amechi is inside the airport. I walk in to go and greet Mrs. Amechi. Before I get to the gate, Senator Akpabio calls me, yes, you went to have a meeting with Mrs. Amechi because you want to plan against my presidential. I was being monitored. Now, 3 of the police people that came yesterday were 3 that was working with me in NDDC. So what happened yesterday? The NDDC obviously was involved. What would have happened is that they would have taken me away. Since everyone has said they didn't know, I hear they say I'm a criminal. That's why they barged in like that to come to pick me up. My recommendation would honestly be that the NDDC be taken back to the office of the SGF because the SGF is very, very busy. He won't go out of his way to start looking for NDDC money.
A presentation was also received from a researcher who alleged massive looting in the NDDC.
The entails, buildings, and logistics. This company was given the contract for emergency consultancy for provision of refresher training for caregivers on prevention and treatment of coronavirus. And the contract sum was 268,481,250. 15% mobilization was paid on the 22nd of April, representing 40,272,187 naira 5 kobo. The batch number is 13659 and batch number 13660. After tax was removed, the company received in its account 35,238 naira 164 kobo. This is a logistic company, but given a training contract for health care workers, for caregivers.
The Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Dr. Godwill Akpabio, is hereby summoned by this committee to appear before it 11 a.m. on Monday. The Acting Managing Director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Professor Keme Badimo Daniel Ponde, is hereby summoned to appear before this committee on Monday, the 20th of July, 2012, at 11 a.m. Via electronic and substituted means. I hereby rule.
Now, welcome back to the Gavel. While the Senate continues to sit twice weekly, the House of Representatives sits once a week. Let's look at plenary within the week in both chambers.
With the National Assembly,
it's the first plenary session for the week, and legislators have before them a bill seeking to amend the criminal code.
a woman is a woman, a girl is a girl, whether married or not. This is speaking as to content and as to consent. And the legislative intent here also is to remove gender restriction. So that whether you are a man or a girl or a woman, whether you are a man or a woman, once somebody has unlawful knowledge, it even takes it beyond carnal knowledge. Now, penetration is not only through the traditional means alone. It can even be through the mouth or nose or anus or any part of the body without consent. That is the legislative intent.
The amendments scale through and the bill is passed.
A bill for an act to amend the Criminal Code Act, Cap C 38, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to delete the statute of 2020 third reading taken and passed. Congratulations.
Meanwhile, the Senate is urging its relevant committees to work with the National Emergency Management Agency and the Nigerian Erosion and Watershed Management Project to immediately intervene in the erosion menace ravaging communities in Imo West Senatorial District in Imo State. The sponsor of the motion explains to his colleagues that previous efforts to control the erosion menace has failed woefully, adding that if nothing urgent is done, the communities may be submerged by erosion.
Further causes that although the government has assisted in the past in addressing menace caused by erosion in some part of Imo West Senatorial Zone, currently affected such as Umosh community. However, many areas have not benefited from the federal government erosion management and rehabilitation aid, while assisted areas keep experiencing annual despair.
Meanwhile, the Senate is urging the federal government to collaborate with states, local governments and the private sector to invest in infrastructure development, which will provide private investment in the solid mineral sector.
The committee observed that mining is not immune to the anxieties around security in Nigeria, whether it is mine site security, logistics-related security, general terrorism, kidnapping, or basic crimes. Investors have concerns that Nigeria's state must address.
The directive by the Federal Ministry of Education to public schools to boycott the West African Examinations Council WAEC Senior School Certificate Examination, scheduled to commence from the 3rd of August, caught the attention of the House of Representatives. It was raised as a matter of urgent public importance during Tuesday's plenary session.
Worried that Nigerians' non-participation in the year's examination portends serious psychological, socio-economic, and health effects on the students as well as the already overburdened parents and guardians.
WAEC is the body which determines the examinations required in the English-speaking West African countries, which include Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia and Gambia, for award of junior and senior secondary school certificates. While the Ministry of Education insists that it is not prepared to risk the lives of students during the COVID-19 pandemic, the House fears that it could portray a negative image for the country.
Also worried that this sudden policy reversal is and will be detrimental and create further confusion and uncertainty in the educational sector, as well as frustrate the students' lifelong ambition and send wrong signals to stakeholders and investors.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate an alleged resignation of 356 soldiers from the Nigerian army. This follows a motion of urgent public importance raised by the Chief Whip, Mohammed Mungono, and co-sponsored by 3 other leaders of the House. According to the motion, a memo from the aggrieved soldiers was sent to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, dated July 3, 2020. The Green Chamber, during Tuesday's plenary session, condemned the communal clashes in Adamawa State and called for the arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators.
Dumna District, in Gwil local government of Adamawa State, was attacked by unknown people. People in dozens were killed, houses were burnt, people who were in their houses for decades, over 4 decades, are now sleeping in primary schools and in churches.
The House also considered a motion on the need to investigate an abandoned road project in Anambra State.
890,412,091 naira, 75 kobo only had been paid to the contractor to enable him execute the project shortly after the award of the contract, leaving a balance of 4,283,497,663 naira 65 kobo. The House consigned that the road rehabilitation project that was awarded 11 years ago was last funded in 2017, that thus leading to its abandonment by the contractor to the chagrin of the people of the communities where the road traverses.
Our final report is on the meeting between the House of Representatives Committee on Commerce and the Ministry of Finance, Trade and Investment. The House Committee on Commerce, during its meeting with the Ministry of Trade and Investment, described the ministry as a quiet but very important one to Nigeria's trade image. The committee believes the National Assembly has a role to play in trade issues in the country, and the Permanent Secretary says improvements are in the works.
When I go and bag a trailer load of rice for Ileya Salah, which some of us have to do, picture 2 kg or 3 of rice off each bag, which is what we buy, and it's not funny. So I think there's a layer of problems here. What do I see? I see a lot of legislative activity for us. Discuss oil and gas pumps selling petrol. You are in conflict with CPR. No, DPR. They are doing the same thing.
Before, the departments were working on their own. Now, I tell you, we have a good coordination mechanism. Not only within us, but with our parastatals. You will see us more, sir. Come and visit us. We welcome you, sir.
The issues of patent and design were also brought to the fore.
We established what we called administrative panel, because the law of patent and design is not elaborate, just like unlike the trademark. And this administrative panel sits to look into petitions arising from what we have issued out.
Your sensitization and advocacy, I think you will have to start from this house. Honestly, because what you have been talking about, I don't know anything about it. I can't differentiate between the patent and design you are talking about and the trademark. So you will have to start even from here, madam.
If one has a name, the name is the trademark. These are distinctive signs, and the world over, they are used to identify goods put in the market. From raw goods to manufactured goods, they must have a name. That is why Nigeria is a member of the World Intellectual Property Organization. And under the World Intellectual Property Organization, there is classification called the NIS International Classification for Goods and Services, which identify all the goods that you know in the world into several classes. For goods, 1 to 34, and for services, 35 to 45.
Now, the National Assembly Service Commission has issued a query to the clerk to the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Sani Omolori, to explain to the Commission why disciplinary action should not be taken against him for issuing a press statement on Wednesday, the 15th of July. The Executive Chairman of National Assembly Service Commission, Ahmed Amshi, in a statement said the attention of the Commission was drawn to a press release titled Retirement Age for Staff of the National Assembly, which was put at 40 years of service or 65 years of age, whichever comes first, dated 15 July 2020 and signed by Mr. Sani Omolori, clerk to the National Assembly. Now, he further stated that the press release is considered by the Commission as gross insubordination. The clerk to the National Assembly, Mr. Sani Omolori, however, disagrees with the position of the National Assembly Service Commission over the retirement age for staff of the Assembly, which he insists was revised by both chambers of the 8th National Assembly and set at 40 years of age, 40 years of service or 65 years of age, whichever comes first. Well, that's all the time we have on The Gavel this week. Thank you for watching, and please send feedback to The Gavel at channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Bye-bye.